And welcome back to the Hot Lap. We are talking Ralf Schumacher throwing shade at Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton, arguably the greatest of all time. But as we know, Ralf Schumacher is the brother of another greatest of all time. And he's talking about another potential greatest of all time in the guise of Max Verstappen. And he pretty much says, yeah, Max is better than Lewis. He does point out why, though. Let's have a chat. So here we go. Here's the main crux. We'll get into the main part of the story, but Verstappen is capable of giving that little bit extra. That's what Ralf Schumacher says. Like those exceptional world champions before him. Okay, so out of context, you think exceptional world champions like you, Alonso's, obviously Michael Schumacher, his brother, Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost. But then, and this is what I don't agree with. I personally don't agree with it. Let me know what you think. I honestly don't count Lewis Hamilton among that list. What's this guy's problem? Let's have a look at the big story, shall we? Because whether you think Hamilton's the greatest or not, I do think he's done enough to be in that list to talk about. So he says Lewis can't do that. He launches fresh criticism. So Hamilton has never been able to lead a team and work with his engineers on car development like Michael Schumacher at Ferrari. This is the opinion of Michael Schumacher's brother, the former F1 driver, who believes outgoing Mercedes star Hamilton will struggle to replicate his fellow seven-time world champion success at the Scuderia. Hamilton is due to start work, as we know, at Ferrari next month, but Hamilton stands as the most decorated driver in F1 history, having equalled Schumacher's record of 7 world championships all that way in that Turkey 2020, before becoming the first man to surpass 100 Grand Prix wins. Now, Schumacher enjoyed the best years of his career at Ferrari. Hamilton, ergo, he also did at Mercedes. Now, the German was renowned, though. Schumacher was renowned, and to be fair, he was renowned for his team building qualities. When you look at interviews back in the day, even the engineer said, yeah, Schumacher remembered my birthday, he remembered my wife's birthday. They even say he sent flowers to his engineers' wives, for example, on their birthday. Very much a team man. And if you remember, he worked very closely with Jean Todt and Ross Brawn to help Ferrari emerge as a leading people. Now, Hamilton, he was eventually signed as Schumacher's replacement. This was all the way back in 2012, signed just after the Singapore Grand Prix to start in that 2013 season, following what wasn't really a failed comeback by Michael Schumacher, but I think the car wasn't quite there. He did get that pole in Monaco, though, which was sadly taken away, because of the race before. Silly. But former Williams and Toyota driver Schumacher claimed Hamilton, who will turn 40, is unlikely to match his brother's impact at Ferrari, pointing to a perceived inability to lead the direction and car development. He said the biggest difference is that Michael, among many other qualities, was able to develop a car perfectly for his driving style together with his engineers. He said Lewis can't do that. He's never been able to do that. Whoa. If you listen carefully to what the Mercedes technicians say. Now, Toto has emphasised more than once that a driver should step on the gas and the engineers should develop. But he has also said because his drivers were apparently incapable of giving the right inputs, Michael was completely different. He always gave his confidence like Ross Brawn or John Todt direction. That makes things even more difficult for Lewis, he says, because Charles Leclerc is the top dog. Everyone in the team knows him. For Lewis, everything is new at Ferrari. Yes, I agree there. Lewis Hamilton is going to find things more difficult at Ferrari because he's the new guy there, especially in the first few weeks and months. And he's, what's more, Michael came to Ferrari as the current world champion and was much younger. That's not the case with Lewis. Yes, that's true as well. Mr. Schumacher's latest comments came after he revealed he does not count Hamilton among the list of exceptional champions. And that includes Red Bull driver Max Verstappen, who are capable of making the difference on the track. He likened Hamilton to a 4-time world champion, such as Sebastian Vettel, who retired at the end of the 22 season, claiming the pair require a perfect car in order to perform at their best. Praising Verstappen's 24 season, Mr. Schumacher told Sky Germany he simply makes the difference. He said Max Verstappen is really capable of giving that little bit extra that those exceptional champions have before him. There are not many of them, and I honestly don't count Lewis amongst that list. That's the thing I don't agree with, though. He makes really good points, but then he just, for me, he sounds a bit silly. Hamilton is certainly exceptional, he says, but also needs a bit of the perfect environment and car, just like Sebastian Vettel. But Max Verstappen, what he's achieved this year in these circumstances, with the problems with the Horner, the departure of Adrian Newey, the car was superior at the beginning of the season, and then it was a disaster. I don't think it was a disaster. It was still one of the fastest cars out there, just not the fastest car. But after a short winter break, as we know, Hamilton is expected to start with Fry. But let's look. I mean, this one here. First of all, the car was superior in the beginning of F1 20. Yes, it was. It was superior until kind of like about Miami, where he still had the speed, but I think he may have damaged the underfloor, and the safety car really helped Lando Norris. But still, Lando Norris still needed to win that race. If you remember, I was watching and I was like, well, it's only a matter of time when the safety car came out, because it was Lando Norris, then Max Verstappen, I think. It was only a matter of time before Max gets Lando, I think. But no, and then Lando managed to pull away. Does Hamilton need a perfect car? Yes, but then so does Max Verstappen. When you saw the car, Hungary wasn't perfect. No, he couldn't make the difference. The car makes more of the difference than the driver most of the time. I think I think a lot of people will accept that. Absolutely. When you look at Verstappen last year, he in 2023, he won nearly every race, barring a few. But that was just that was the car as well, because if that's the case, why didn't he win nearly every race this year? Because he needed the car. Now, in terms of making a difference, Michael Schumacher certainly made the difference. If you want to Google the 1998 Hungarian Grand Prix, arguably one of Schumacher's best ever wins, where in the 98 car, which wasn't as fast as the McLaren, I think, over the course of the season, he had to basically make a pit stop up in quite a few number of laps on the grooved Bridgestone tyres. Or was it Goodyear? I think it was Goodyear at the time, sorry. On the grooved Goodyear, and he did. It was an amazing feat. That's something that probably race we're going to have to talk about at some point. But he said here, Max Verstappen is really capable of giving that little bit extra than those exceptional world champions before him already have. Yes, completely agree. But once again, they're not many of them, and I honestly don't count Lewis among that list. That one I vehemently do disagree with. I mean, you need to go far back as I think Hockenheim 2018, when he came back from the middle of the pack pretty much to win the race. That's the race that Sebastian Vettel went into the wall. He raced Valtteri Bottas. He stopped Valtteri Bottas from winning, and then obviously the team did call it off, so team orders to a certain extent there. But he won the race. Now, if you think that's unfair, go back to the duel in the desert with Nico Rosberg. Lewis Hamilton win the last stint. Rosberg was on the faster tyres, and Hamilton held him off. The Monaco Grand Prix, I think, was it 2019, maybe, when Max Verstappen was all over Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton put on the wrong tyres. He kept it in and won that race. Hamilton does make the difference. He can make the difference. Arguably more so at the moment. There's more evidence, I suggest, than Hamilton making the difference than Max Verstappen. If you cast your eyes back to Abu Dhabi, for example, 2021. No, we're not going to talk about the end. We're going to talk about the beginning, okay? Max Verstappen had pole position. Max Verstappen was starting on the soft tyre, Hamilton on the slower medium tyre. Now, when it came down to the start, Hamilton's probably not the best starter ever. He got a better start than Max Verstappen. Yes, I know. Max Verstappen then did his I'm going to come through, whatever, and Lewis was like, no, I'm just going to go straight on at the chicane. Yeah, that's kind of like, by the by, that's classic Max. That's classic Max, because had Hamilton turned in, they would have hit, which would have helped Max Verstappen. And then, amazingly, on the slower tyre, Hamilton just pulled away. So on the day that both of them could have won that championship, in the beginning part of that race, when it counted, it was Lewis Hamilton, not Max Verstappen. Now, the argument can be made, yes, Max Verstappen has become arguably a much more rounded racer since then. So it will be interesting where we have a peak Lewis Hamilton, a peak Verstappen. What would happen then? I don't know. But on that day, when it was needed, both of them were really, really hungry to win that. Verstappen, Hamilton wanted to win his 8th to become, arguably, at least statistically, without doubt, the greatest of all time when you look at the stats and the amount of world champions. Max Verstappen wanted to win his first, and his first to beat Lewis Hamilton would have been amazing. And at that start, and in that first stint, it was Lewis. And Verstappen, whatever you look at, forget about the safety car. Until that came, Verstappen was found wanting, and arguably the faster car. Even Adrian Newey suggested that they had the faster car as well throughout the course of that season. So, I thought that's quite interesting. I think Ralf Schumacher, I completely agree with him at Ferrari. I do think Michael Schumacher is the best driver when it comes to building up a team, bar none. I think he's really good at getting everyone around him and working for him. So yes, in a sense, he's got this team, but he knows this team are going to be working for him, which is why he always had very much a number 2 driver. Let's be honest, Eddie Irvine, Johnny Herbert, Jos Verstappen, Rubens Barrichello, Felipe Massa. They were, whatever way you look at it, number 2 drivers. It was in the contract. It's all there. I mean, even though Rubens came out and said it was like a number 1 and a number 1B, no, Rubens, you were number 2. Schumacher had the most of the attention, had the advantage. To be fair to Lewis Hamilton in the Nico Rosberg days, and at the beginning of McLaren in 2007, that was not the case, which I thought was interesting. So what I think is equally more interesting is, here we go, this is on Twitter. All the links are going to be in the description. It says Schumi had no problem with people beating his records, and he knew they could very well be beaten by Lewis, which I thought was quite interesting. So let's play this, shall we, about Schumi's domination.
Can any driver today dominate Formula One the way you did? Can somebody like Lewis pick up a world title and then get 7 world titles, or is that something that's just beyond the bounds of the modern age?
I would say absolutely yes, because nobody thought, and neither me, myself, I thought I could beat the 5 of Fangio, and then I did, and I even increased it to 7. Records are there to be beaten, and I'm quite relaxed that one day it will happen, whether it's Lewis, whether it's Massa, or it's Sebastian Vettel, or whoever. It might be somebody of the current or of the future that could or will do it. I have no problem about it.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely great. Well done, Michael Schumacher. I just wish he was still with us in terms of, I know he is, but in terms of, the Michael, we all know it. But yeah, here's another thing. This is Michael Schumacher praising Lewis and his talent as well. He knew he was really good. So this is Schumacher on Lewis Hamilton praising his talent.
He's a very talented driver. Not of a surprise he's that successful.
7 times world champion, it says.
Seeing his GP2 season last year, which I followed a little bit closely because the team owner and manager, Nicolas Todt, is obviously very closely related to us. I just met him briefly in Turkey and had a quick chat with him. It was this was actually a tremendous race he did over there. So for me, it's not a surprise he shows up the way he's doing. It's a surprise he does it that consistent so early, but we cross fingers he keeps it up.
I mean, there you go. Michael Schumacher on Lewis Hamilton. And interesting, he mentions obviously the GP2 and the Turkey thing, because that was one of Lewis Hamilton's best GP2, Grand Prix 2, it was GP2, not F2 at the time, GP2 seasons, which I thought was quite interesting. So, do you agree with Ralf Schumacher? Is Lewis not going to be among the greats? You may well. I completely agree with Ralph. When it comes to his talk about the Ferrari, I think Lewis can set up a car. I think he can work with the people, but I don't think he's as good as Michael Schumacher when it comes to it. I think Michael Schumacher is very good about getting all those people together, once again, to work for Schumacher, which is part of the team. But the important thing is that he gets them to work with Schumacher, which is obviously why he was number 1. He was the fastest guy there, like Verstappen, like Lewis Hamilton in the teams. But then, obviously, you had the argument being that Verstappen, other than Danny Ricciardo, hasn't had much competition in his team since Carlos Sainz and maybe Danny Ricciardo. Lewis Hamilton, he has had Fernando Alonso, Jenson Button, Nico Rosberg, all world champions. I rest my case. Anyway, if you made it to the end, please give us a subscribe. That would be absolutely lovely. If you gave us a subscribe, that would be fantastic. Hit the notification button so you do not miss a video. And once again, as I said, we'll be with you throughout the end of the year and the new year, going into it. Lots of exciting things. An amazing 2025 season coming up. And until then, stay safe, and thank you so much for even clicking on this video. It is really appreciated. Speak to you soon.